When a car becomes really popular, it's very tough to update it because you have all these people that bought this car and they love this car, and you don't want to risk upsetting a future buyer by making it too different. However, Toyota has made a bunch of really important changes to this, the Corolla Cross Hybrid. And in today's video, Case and I are going through those changes and finding out, did they do enough? Did they do too much? And is this a better buy than something like a Honda HR-V? Now, Case, we got to talk about the color first. What is this called?
It's called Cavalry Blue, and straight off the bat, they've done something that I appreciate. They've changed up the front end styling. It's different between the gas and hybrid models. What we're looking at here is the hybrid version, and the front end on this car, especially in this shade of blue, looks pretty good. I think that this is much better looking than these cars were in the past.
So for the 2026 model year, Toyota has facelifted the Corolla Cross, so this is not an entirely new generation. But you're exactly right, this front end is much less beak-like than the old one, and I really do appreciate the big differentiation between the hybrid and the gas model. So here in the front of this 26 Corolla Cross Hybrid, we have this interesting kind of honeycomb pattern that extends the width of the car, along with this little mustache.
Oh, is that a mustache, Tommy?
It's a mustache, yes, the little streaks here across the front end, and then that flush, dark-colored Toyota emblem. I actually think the front end is a big improvement over the last one.
Yeah, and this model has a blacked-out roof as well, and this pretty cool piece of bright trim that says Corolla Cross that separates the roof from the rest of the body. So from the exterior, especially considering other vehicles in the class like the HR-V, this is not bad looking. I would wager that this is much better looking than that Honda.
Much better looking than the HR-V. Now, there are vehicles in this category which are a little bit more aggressive, like, for example, the Chevrolet Trailblazer, but Toyota's doing a couple things which is very trendy now, which I wish they wouldn't. For example, the black wheel arches.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of cladding to it that makes it theoretically look a little bit more rugged, because this is not a sedan, not really a hatchback. It is a small, very small crossover.
Yeah, but you know, I think if this was color-coded, this could look even better. I really do appreciate that Toyota is kind of introducing some fun, vibrant colors in the Corolla Cross. So many that you see out on the road are the grays and the blacks, but historically you could get like a pretty cool yellow. You can now get Soul Crystal Red Metallic from Mazda on the Corolla Cross, because this is built in the same facility as some Mazdas, which is very neat. And then for 26, we also have some new wheel designs. Now, Case, what do you think of gloss black wheels?
In general, I don't mind them. It's interesting contrast a little bit with the flatter appearance of the cladding. But ultimately, I don't think most people are going to be buying this vehicle based on looks alone. The practicality of it is what's going to be the big draw for most.
Yeah.
One of the perks of getting a more expensive hybrid model, like what we see here, is that these are standard all-wheel drive. So if you live like where we live in Colorado, that's going to be a nice thing to have. You can get the gas version of this car as an all-wheel drive model, but standard, they'll be front-wheel drive, and this powertrain has a little bit of extra power as well.
Yeah, so 169 horsepower.
On the gas.
Is the hybrid more?
Yeah, the hybrid has 196.
Wow! Unreal!
Yeah, and an eCVT. So look,
what a powerhouse!
Tommy's reaction aside, this is not a car being bought to race for pink slips, but on the hybrid model, 42 mpg combined, which is a nice number.
That's really good.
And as much as they say 34 mpg combined on the gas versions.
And actually, genuinely, 196 horsepower in what's essentially a small hatchback with all-wheel drive is pretty good power.
Yeah, to some people, 196 might not sound like that much, but closing in on 200 horsepower for an everyday economy car is really not a bad number.
And what's great about this CVT is, yes, it is technically continuously variable, but it's not an old school belt and cone like you'd find in a Nissan, for example, that has kind of a reputation now for unreliability. Toyota uses an eCVT setup, which means it's a planetary gear set and a set of electric motors, so there's no belt to wear out or fail, which is awesome. So it behaves like a CVT, but it's not a wear item to that extent.
Yeah, which is good because that stands up to Toyota's durability requirements and everything. Should we check out the inside?
Yeah, so there are a bunch of changes on the inside as well. We've got some new technology, we've got some new interior design. Now, Let's start out with the big news here, Case, which is the central screen.
Yeah, what we're looking at right now is a more spec'd out version of this car. So we've got a 10.5-inch touchscreen in the center, which is nice. That's a good sized screen. I will say though that Toyota on a lot of their screens still have these pretty big bezels. So it's not the most futuristic looking of screens, but it's a decent size. The standard screen is going to be an 8-inch. And as well in front of Tommy, we've got a 12.3-inch digital cluster. On more basic vehicles, you have a 7-inch screen in the middle instead. And on even older versions, it was a 4.2-inch screen.
Dead.
So
Gone.
yeah, so they've updated a few items like that, but we've still got physical controls for the climate, which I appreciate as well.
The one miss I will say about the screen, it's the usual Toyota infotainment screen, which means it's pretty easy to use, it's pretty user-friendly. You can see like energy flow, which is cool. The colors are okay for the most part. They're pretty good. The one miss I do have on this is it doesn't have a physical volume knob. Let me go to auto here. Let's see if we can get it in the... Oh, there's a light and a dark setting in the screen. This is the dark setting, but in the light setting, everything's white instead, and it looks pretty good. But there's no physical volume knob. Instead, you've got the buttons.
Yeah, those buttons are not great.
No, luckily you do have steering wheel controls, which is great. But I would much prefer an actual knob. But as Case mentioned, you do have dual zone automatic climate control. Dual zone's pretty good for a more entry-level car.
Yeah, and auto climate setting as well. We've got a wireless charger down there, and this particular vehicle has a cold weather package as well. So we've got heated front seats and a heated steering wheel.
Yep, and then here's a button for EV mode. These buttons are always kind of goofy to me because in a standard hybrid, you can maybe go quarter mile in electricity, right? You only have right around a kilowatt hour worth of battery.
I guess if you're trying to sneak out of the house, not that this is an exceptionally loud car.
True that.
But if this is your first car and you're trying to sneak out.
I do like how kind of big and wide open that this whole center area is, which is great. It feels like, you know, having a couple places for phone storage is great. Only one USB port accessible here in the front though.
Yeah, however, there is
there's another one.
Bit of charging there.
Nice.
As well.
Okay, that's
so
good.
We've got some more options in that. And this car, once again, being pretty spec'd out. We've got a small sunroof in addition to that. It's not a bad interior in general. There's definitely some areas of cheaper materials, which you would expect because these cars come in at pretty low price points starting. So there's always going to be some of that. And what we're sitting in now, we've got the optional 9-speaker JBL audio system with a subwoofer in the trunk. The standard system is going to be 6 speakers.
Yeah, a lot to like here though, especially if you're into safety technology, right? Toyota's very good about baking in, even on the entry-level cars, their safety systems, adaptive cruise control, lane keep, blind spot monitoring, right? All that's really good. And this one, we do have just your standard backup camera, no 360-degree camera.
Pretty high def though.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Should we see if you fit in the back seat? Because you're pretty tall. How tall are you?
Well, depends if I stand up straight, but about 6 feet when I crouch like I always do.
Depending on your posture.
So this is my seating position. Paddle shifters, by the way, Case.
For the ECVT?
Pretty sporty. Let's check out the back seat.
Yeah, because obviously this is a relatively small car. So if Tommy fits in the back seat, then that's not too bad.
All right, you know what? So the back of the front seat's a little scalloped. I'm just right at the limit there. Headroom though is excellent. So because this is kind of a square little boxy SUV design, tons of headroom and 2 USB-Cs for rear seat passengers.
I'm impressed by the vents.
Vents, Case. Look at that for your furry friends.
Vents in the back seat is pretty nice, and to their credit, they did introduce a little bit of color into the interior as it's spec'd here with the stitching and these lines on the seats. That is pretty nice.
Cup holders in the doors as well.
Yeah,
so,
the door cards are pretty basic, but...
Got a power windows and cup holders.
Yeah.
And then coming around to the back, so there are a couple design changes in the back. If I remember right now, Case, every Corolla Cross has LED taillights, which is good news. And this one
is a power liftgate.
Even as a power liftgate. Look at that.
Yeah, which is a nice feature to have. And, oh look, Tommy's got his film camera.
Heck yeah, dude. So, good sized trunk here. Underneath, this is one bit of a miss for me. There is just a tire inflation kit. There's no spare in this hybrid.
Yeah, but you can see the JBL subwoofer.
Let's see how the seats fold. Are they flat?
Yeah, and I believe with the seats up, it's 17 cubic feet of space, folded down about 44.
Yeah,
so
and actually,
you know, a decent amount of space for a smaller car.
Fold this one down too. There we go.
Oh yeah.
So a little bit of a step up, but as a whole, actually a pretty good sized trunk, easily accessible. So
yeah, there's a cargo net in there as well. So
listen, this car is in a really, really competitive class. You know, we talked about the Honda, we talked about the Chevy. You also have vehicles like the Hyundai Kona, the Kia Seltos. Maybe on the slightly upper end, bigger things, you got like the Bronco Sport if you want something a little bit more rugged. So a lot of vehicles competing for your dollar. But what I think this vehicle shines at is the hybrid system, which is a huge competitive advantage, especially when you look at the fuel economy case. And we're looking at 42 mpg combined.
yeah, 42 mpg combined, which is pretty nice. Base, if you're looking for a hybrid, that's going to start just under 30,000. If you're looking for a base car and you don't need the hybrid, it's going to be just under 25,000, but it's also added in there. There's going to be destination costs as well. And this more specced out model is about 37,000 because it's an XSE, so this is a top trim.
So this is the top trim, and then it's a little bit funky, but if you get the standard non-hybrid, it's L's,
Yeah.
like LE, XLE, and the hybrids it's S's, SC and XSE. So that's something to keep in mind. But this car is spec 37,449. I mean, it's getting up there in money, right? The good news is it's got that Toyota reliability and resale value. So if you buy this thing, maybe you don't like it after a couple of years, there's a good chance you are going to get your money back out of it. And it should be, fingers crossed, in the long run, a very reliable car because it's not breaking any ground in terms of powertrain, in terms of hybrid systems, right? Toyota's been doing these for 25 years. They're really expert at developing hybrids that last a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a good all-around car, and something that makes sense for a lot of drivers out there. I mean, reasonably comfortable.
I would say if you want a slightly sportier option, the Trailblazer's a little bit interesting because you get some turbo power there. If you want a more rugged version, maybe you talked about like the Ford Bronco Sport. If you want the funky option, the Kona's definitely pretty weird. But if you just want kind of that basic, going to last a long time, it's going to be pretty comfortable, and it's going to have good features, that's where the Toyota comes in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, folks, let us know what you think in the comment section below. This has been Tommy.
In case.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.